From the beautiful Finger Lakes region of upstate New York, this is the Dental Lighthouse Podcast. We take questions from anyone in the dental profession and discuss what it takes to win not only in dentistry, but in life. Business, leadership, relationships, parenting, health and wellness, money management, nothing is off limits on the Dental Lighthouse Podcast. I'm Jason Tenori, your host, and have over 20 years of experience to pull from. Learn from my mistakes and let me help you collapse time so you can become the best version of yourself. Yo, what is up? Dr. Jason here, Dental Lighthouse Podcast. It is a beautiful and sunny, if you can see me on video, beautiful and Sunday, Wednesday morning. It's about 8:30, and it's time for me to share some ramblings and musings with you. A few things that I really want to share, and I'll probably break it up into a few podcasts over the next couple weeks or so. This is my weekly time to record some ramblings. Pretty much I try to do it every Wednesday from 8:30 to 9:30, which is speaking to what my ideal week looks like. And I don't think I'm going to unpack that on this podcast, but I got an interesting story for you guys that I'll probably tell on the next podcast about our coaching group and one of the key leads that's in there, non-dentist key lead, just overwhelmed and stuff like that. So, make sure that you're sticking to your ideal week template. Anyways, today I wanted to really talk about, okay, it's the middle of January. The holidays are done. And last week was technically the first full normal week, right? Where you at? How are you doing? And there's different levels to this question, because many of my coaching clients, hopefully many of my listeners will have clarity with how they're doing based on objective data, and then also based on what they decided their first quarter rallying cry is. Some of you will have no clue on how you're doing, but the schedule's full. So you walk around with a proud chest. And what I would love to communicate to you from a position of love, no judgment here, is it's the middle of January and you're busy, not because of all the hard work that you've put in, but the middle of January is busy every single year because people push off needed treatment from the year before, and they don't have any more insurance benefits. So that crown that they need, or that extraction, or that implant, they push it off till the middle of January or early January or January. And here we are. And you're real busy and you're doing $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 days. And you feel really, really good about yourself, as you should, right? Like, you took a lot of risk to open up a dental practice and, do all the things, and you're reaping the benefits of that now. My concern for you is that you don't have the systems in place to maintain it. Because what'll most likely happen to a handful of you is, once this wave of patients gets treated, the first or second week of February will roll around and the schedule won't be as full, or the days won't be as productive. And then you start to fall back into some of the bad habits, or you pick up the habits that you've always had about how you deal with this stuff. So I'm celebrating with you that your schedule is full right now and that you're really busy. I think that's awesome. But wouldn't it be nice to have this feeling throughout the year, as opposed to just a really good January? So how can you do that? Well, there's lots of different ways, and depending on your situation, there's customizable solutions and what have you. But at a high level, I just want to make sure that you're thinking about these key things. First off is, what is a successful month look like to you from a revenue perspective, right? Or asked another way, what are you projected to do? If it's a good month, if February is going to be a good month, what is the revenue number associated with February? And don't just pull a number out of your ass. You have to figure out what you typically produce in revenue, what any of your associates typically produce in revenue, what your hygienists produce in revenue, and extrapolate it out over the amount of hours or the amount of days that you're looking at for the particular month, and it spits out a number. Okay, so that's the goal. So now at least we have a North Star that we're shooting for. So that's the first thing. Don't just look at your reports at the end of the day or the end of the month and be like, okay, cool. Like, have an understanding of, is this a good number or not? And I think the best, easiest way to determine if this is a good number is it in line with what you were projected to do? The next thing I want you to think about is just some basic KPIs on either a scorecard that you share with your team, that you share with your leadership team, or that you just keep to yourself, right? No need to over communicate these KPIs if that's not what your culture is, or if that's not what you're all about. But there's some key metrics here that you really need to understand to make sure that February and March are going to be as productive as January. And in no particular order, I'm going to just talk about a few of them. The first one that I think is super relevant for this time of the year is the amount of dentistry that you're treatment planning on a daily or weekly basis. And why is that important? Well, when we're really busy, like a lot of us are in January, we tend to hit cruise control because we look at our schedule and we get all excited that it's full, and we look at next week's schedule and we get all excited that it's full, and we get all excited until we don't, until we start to see some gaps all of a sudden in the schedule. And 99 times out of 100, one of the main reasons that all of a sudden these gaps start showing up in your schedule is because you got complacent and you were not treatment planning out of hygiene or with new patients as much or as comprehensively as you should. Now, again, the asterisk here is this all goes within the core values of the practice or your own personal ethos. I'm certainly not telling you to over treatment plan. But what I've personally seen happen in my own lived experience, and I see it all the time with my associates, is when they're busy and they're hopping from room to room and they're taking out teeth and they're prepping crowns and they're doing endo, they jump into the hygiene exam quickly. They don't spend the necessary time developing rapport. They don't look at everything comprehensively. They don't spend the time to educate the patient and treatment plan accordingly. They just want to get out of the room so they can get back to their busy schedule. And, we've talked about this on the podcast before. In situations like this, you can experience pain in the moment, or you can experience pain down the road. And when you experience pain in the moment, it means that you're going to have to take a deep breath during that hygiene exam or do that during that new patient exam and do the work of developing the relationship, of treatment planning comprehensively, of hearing the patient's chief complaint. And it takes a little bit longer to do. And it takes a little bit more energy to do. And you might feel like you need to get back to your busy schedule, your busy restorative schedule, but don't. Experience the pain now in the moment and get your treatment plans presented, dialed in, and accepted. Because when you do that, your schedule is not going to just stay busy in January. It's going to stay busy for a while. So the other option is to experience the pain later. What does that look like? Well, you hop into the hygiene room, you're in there for 90 seconds. You take a quick look under the hood. Maybe you don't even put gloves on. You just grab the mirror and you're kind of like, hey, Mary, everything going okay in Mrs. Jones's mouth? And Mary kind of unpacks. You're like, okay, we'll keep an eye on that. We'll watch it. Reach out if you need anything. And then you're right back in the room. That's not painful. That's easy, right? So you're deciding to skip the pain of slowing down, empathetically and actively listening to the patient, doing diagnostic tests, asking for additional x-rays, and then spending the time reviewing them. So you're avoiding all that so you can get back to the hygiene, or you get back to the restorative room. And then all of a sudden, a couple weeks from now, your schedule has holes in it. It's not completely empty, but maybe there's 2 or 3 hours in your day that are unaccounted for. Or maybe you look at your week and you're scheduled for $15,000-$20,000 less than you typically are. That's painful, right? And the way you respond to that is usually storming up to the front desk and, why is my schedule open? And why, how come this isn't filled? And what you really need to be doing is looking in a mirror and saying to yourself, okay, what did I do wrong to have this situation present itself? Well, I'm going to tell you because I love you. You chose to avoid the pain in the moment of the new patient exam and of the hygiene exam so you could get back to your own busy restorative chair. And now you're experiencing the pain of an open schedule because you weren't hell-bent on making sure that your treatment plan had enough dentistry to keep you and your docs busy down the road, down the river. So one of the best ways to monitor that is through a couple very simple KPIs. One is treatment dollars presented, and you can access this stuff through your practice management software or any type of third-party analytics like Blue IQ or something like that. And again, assuming you're a general dentist, assuming your case acceptance is, let's call it a third, 33%. If you want to continue to do the same amount of dentistry that you're doing now, you got to present 3 times the amount of your goal. So if you're typically doing 10 grand in dentistry a day, you need to present $30,000 in dentistry every single day. Now, you can present 25 one day and then 35 the next or what have you. We look at this number on a weekly basis, and we have a specific number that we're shooting for. And I can promise you that when that number starts to drift down, I can, like clockwork, look ahead at my schedule a month and see holes in it. So don't allow that to happen. The other metric that we look at is dollars on the books over the next month, right? So we tend to shoot for a goal of about 75% of what we're trying to do, right? So keep the math simple. If you're trying to do 100 grand in a given month, over the next 4 weeks, I want to see 75 grand on the schedule. And if I don't, I start to scratch my head. I'm like, that's interesting. Why is that? And you start to play Sherlock Holmes. You start to play detective, and you start to ask yourself, why is that? Now, it could be a very legitimate reason, or it could be a reason of your own doing. What would be a legitimate reason? Well, maybe there's a couple of holidays, Martin Luther King Day, and maybe you guys take Valentine's Day off, right? So if you have a couple scheduled days off, you're not going to have as many dollars on the books. Okay, that's fine. At least now you know why the date is low. But what if you're not taking any time off? Then you need to peel back the onion and start to ask questions. And if your team is open and honest and vulnerable with you, they're going to let you know. First thing I would be doing, not in the moment, not storming up to the front desk, but I would have a conversation with my TC or whoever's presenting a majority of my treatment and whoever's controlling my schedule. And I would say, hey, Mary, I got a question for you. I'm looking ahead at my schedule in February, or I'm looking at these metrics in terms of treatment on the books over the next 4 weeks, and it's trending down. What's that about? Again, no, you're not pointing fingers. You're not blaming. You're truly being curious, and you're like, help me understand what that's about. And if she's honest with you, she's going to tell you the truth. She's going to tell you, well, to be honest with you, doc, we're just not seeing a lot of dentistry being presented out of hygiene. Or to be honest with you, doc, the case acceptance over the last couple weeks has been significantly lower than than normal. Huh. Why is that? Now, again, if you have a great relationship with Mary, if you've fostered an environment of openness and vulnerability and trust, she's going to tell you. She's going to say something like, well, doc, to be honest with you, patients are coming to the front and they're actually confused about the treatment plans that they've been given. Or they just seemed like you were rushed in the exam. And patients that are normally getting scheduled and putting deposits down on the appointment, they're asking me to revisit it in 6 months or asking me to call them in a month or something along those lines. So again, would you rather experience pain now or would you rather experience pain down the road? I want to celebrate you and your schedule right now. I think it's awesome that you're busy. What I don't think is awesome is you preventing accomplishing the very fundamentals that allowed you to be busy in the first place. So please, 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 if you want to see this wave of awesomeness continue to do the work. Experience the pain now. Slow down. Treatment plan comprehensively. Be an active and empathetic listener to your patients. Treatment plan like you would a good friend or a spouse. Deal with objections. Experience the time suck and the pain of doing it in the moment. So down the road, your schedule continues to stay full. All right, guys, hope that resonated with you. It's just, an experience that I've had to deal with, both the positive and the negative. So if I can collapse time for you guys in any way, I want to make sure that I'm doing that. Reach out if you need me for anything. My contact information is on the website, thedentallighthouse.com. And I hope you have an awesome day.
Thank you. That wraps up another episode of the Dental Lighthouse podcast. You have a choice today. Choose to be a lighthouse. Lighthouses are powerful and steadfast. They are beacons of light for others to reference when life gets turbulent. Go out into the world today and become a lighthouse for someone. Give more than you get. True joy comes from serving others. Start today. I'm Jason Tenori, your host. Thank you for listening to the Dental Lighthouse podcast. For more information, podcast show notes, or links to anything that we have discussed today, please check out our website, thedentallighthouse.com. We would love to hear from you. If you would like to get on the show, please email us at podcast@thedentallighthouse.com.